Hey Stoics, welcome back to Anonymous Achiever. Silence isn't just the absence of words, it's the presence of power. And right now, your silence is doing something they never expected. It's forcing them to sit in their own discomfort, to face the reality they tried so hard to avoid. When you stop explaining, stop justifying, stop feeding their ego with your energy, you create a vacuum in their world. A space that used to be filled with your presence, your reassurance, your attention. And now it's empty. They might have left thinking they were in control. They might have believed they could walk away without consequences. But here's what they didn't realize. They were never the ones holding the power. You were. Because the one who cares less always has the upper hand. And the moment you stopped giving them access to your emotions, you proved exactly that. This is where their ego takes its first hit. At first, they'll pretend it doesn't bother them. They'll act like they're fine. They might even post pictures, go out, or try to make it seem like their life hasn't skipped a beat. But deep down, the silence is eating away at them. They expected a reaction. They expected you to fight for them, to reach out, to prove that they still mattered. But instead, you gave them nothing. And that nothing, it's louder than any words could ever be. See, some people don't value what they have until it's no longer available. They take your kindness for granted. They assume that just because you cared, you'd always be there. But when you take that presence away, when you refuse to play their game, that's when they realize just how much power you actually had. Because let's be real, attention is currency. And when you stop giving them yours, they feel broke. They'll try to convince themselves that it doesn't matter. They'll bury themselves in distractions, pretend they've moved on. But silence has a way of creeping into the quiet moments. The late nights, the empty mornings, the unexpected reminders. And that's when the real struggle begins. Because now they don't just miss you. They miss the power they thought they had over you. This is what starves their ego. It's not just losing you, it's losing the control they once felt. And that's why today, we're breaking down exactly why your silence is making them spiral, the psychology behind their growing obsession, and how you can use this moment to reclaim your power once and for all. Before we dive in, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. My silence is my strength, and they feel it. Let's begin. Number 1, they never thought you'd walk away. When someone mistreats you, ignores you, or takes you for granted, it's not because they don't care. It's because they believe they can get away with it. They assume you'll always be there. That no matter how many times they disappoint you, no matter how many times they neglect your needs, you'll keep showing up. They never thought their actions would have real consequences, and that's why your silence is the one thing they never prepared for. They thought you'd text first. They thought you would crack under the pressure. They thought that at some point, you would come running back, seeking closure, seeking answers, seeking them, because that's what always happened before. Maybe you fought for their attention. Maybe you forgave too easily. Maybe you gave them chance after chance because deep down, you believed they could change, but not this time. This time, you walked away, and the most terrifying part for them, you didn't just leave quietly, you left with your dignity intact. You didn't beg, you didn't explain, you didn't give them the satisfaction of knowing how much they hurt you. And now they don't know what to do. At first, they might pretend they're relieved. They might convince themselves, good, they finally stopped bothering me. They might even put on a show, posting on social media, laughing with friends, acting like they're living their best life. But as the days pass, something shifts. They start checking their phone more often. They scroll through old messages, rereading conversations they once ignored. They start wondering why you haven't reached out. They start noticing your absence in ways they never expected. And here's the kicker. The more they try to convince themselves that they don't care, the more they start realizing that they actually do. Because here's the truth. People expect others to react. They expect anger. They expect tears. They expect confrontation. But what they don't expect, indifference. Indifference is the real dagger to the heart. Indifference means you've moved on. Indifference means they've lost their grip on you, and nothing bruises an ego more than realizing they are no longer important. This is the moment when the ego takes a hit, because now they're forced to ask a painful question. Did I matter to them as much as I thought? Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." And that's exactly what you've done. You took back control. You stopped letting them dictate your emotions. And while they sit there drowning in their own confusion, you are moving forward, stronger than ever. And that is the real victory. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I am not an option. I am the loss they never saw coming. Number 2, their ego feeds on control, and you took that away. The person with a big ego needs one thing to survive: control. Control over your emotions, control over your reactions, control over how the story ends. As long as they feel like they still have a grip on you, they can convince themselves that they matter, that they still hold some level of power in your life, and for a long time, they did. They could predict your behavior. They knew exactly what buttons to push to get a reaction. Whether it was anger, sadness, or even desperation, they knew how to pull you back in. Maybe they ignored your texts for days, only to reach out with something vague, just to see if you'd respond. Maybe they kept you in a cycle of hot and cold, giving just enough attention to keep you hooked, but never enough to truly value you. But now you're unreadable. And nothing is more terrifying than not knowing what someone is thinking. They expected you to reach out, they expected you to fight for them, they expected you to react because that's what always happened before. But instead, they're met with silence. And that silence, it's deafening. At first, they might brush it off, they might assume you're just playing games, trying to make them miss you. But as the days turn into weeks and your silence remains unshaken, their mind starts working against them. So what do? They start searching for answers. They check your social media, scanning for any clue that you're still affected by them. They ask mutual friends about you, hoping to hear that you're struggling, that you're still talking about them, that you haven't truly moved on. They replay old conversations in their head, dissecting every word, wondering if they missed a sign, wondering if they misunderstood what they thought was their power over you. But all they get in return is silence. And that silence, it forces them to confront something they never wanted to face: reality. Seneca once said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." And right now, their imagination is running wild. They're making up scenarios, wondering who you're with, wondering if you're thinking about them at all, obsessing over what you might be doing while knowing deep down that they have zero control over you anymore. And that's why silence is your greatest weapon, because it doesn't just remove them from your life, it removes their ability to manipulate you. No more arguments, no more explanations, no more feeding their ego with your pain. You took back your power without saying a single word. And that is what's really driving them crazy. Now I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I am free from their control. Number 3, silence forces them to face themselves. A lot of people don't just fear losing you. They fear losing the version of themselves that existed when they were with you. When you were in their life, you made them feel important. You gave them validation, support, and love, sometimes more than they even deserved. You saw the best in them, even when they showed you the worst. You were patient when they were inconsistent. You forgave when they didn't apologize. You gave them warmth, even when they were cold. And now they have to face their own emptiness. See, some people aren't capable of giving love. They can only take it. And as long as you were there pouring your energy into them, they never had to question themselves. They never had to ask, do I deserve this? Because they assumed you would always be there, always trying, always giving. But then you went silent, and suddenly the mirror they'd been avoiding is right in front of them. They no longer have you to boost their confidence. No one is there to reassure them when they feel insecure. No one is checking in asking if they're okay. The compliments are gone, the attention is gone, the safety of knowing someone out there truly cared, gone. At first, they might pretend it doesn't matter. They'll distract themselves with shallow connections. They'll post pictures acting like life is amazing, hoping you'll see. They'll try to make you jealous, hoping for a reaction. But deep down, nothing feels the same. Because what they're chasing isn't a new relationship or a new thrill. It's the feeling of being cared for the way you cared for them. And here's the harsh truth. They don't know how to fill that void. You were the one who made them feel special. You were the one who lifted them up when they felt small, and now, without your energy, they feel empty. That's why silence is so powerful. It doesn't just make them miss you, it forces them to confront who they really are. And they don't like what they see, because now they're left with nothing but themselves. Without your love to mask their insecurities, without your presence to make them feel important, they realize just how little they have to offer. Epictetus once said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." And right now they want what they no longer have. They want your energy, your kindness, your love. They want the version of themselves that felt confident and secure when you were around. But that version only existed because of you. And that's why they're struggling, because now they have to stand on their own, and they don't know how. Number 4, the more they try to forget you, the more they remember. Here's something ironic. The harder they try to erase you from their mind, the stronger your presence becomes. That's just how the brain works. When we actively try not to think about something, it becomes even more dominant in our thoughts. It's called the white bear effect. If I tell you right now, don't think of a white bear, what happens? You picture a white bear. The more they tell themselves, I don't care about them anymore, the more their mind rebels, throwing memories of you right back in their face. Every little thing becomes a trigger. A song you both loved suddenly carries a weight they weren't expecting. A restaurant you used to visit together, they sit there, remembering the way you laughed at their jokes. A phrase you used to say, they hear it in a movie, and for a split second, it's like you're right there next to them again. And the worst part? They can't stop it. At first, they might try to drown you out with distractions. They'll go out more, they'll surround themselves with people, they might even jump into a rebound thinking that someone new will replace what they lost. But it doesn't work, because real connections aren't so easily replaced. No one else laughs the way you did. No one else understands them the way you did. No one else sees them the way you saw them. And that's when it starts to sink in. Losing you wasn't just losing a relationship, it was losing a part of their life they can't recreate. See, no contact isn't just about ignoring them. It's about creating a psychological loop they can't escape. Every time they reach for their phone but stop themselves from texting you, they're thinking about you. Every time they wonder if you miss them, they're thinking about you. Every time they see someone with a similar laugh, a similar look, a similar energy, they compare. At night, when everything is quiet, you're the thought that lingers. And here's where the real torture begins. They told themselves they didn't need you. They convinced themselves they were fine, but now their mind is proving them wrong because you are unforgettable. And the more they try to push you away, the more the universe finds ways to remind them exactly what they lost. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." And right now their thoughts are all about you. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I am unforgettable, and they feel it. Number 5, their pride stops them from reaching out, but it's killing them inside. The only thing standing between them and sending that message is pride. Not love, not logic, not even anger, just pure stubborn pride. They don't want to admit they miss you. They don't want to be the first to fold. They don't want to give you the satisfaction of knowing you had an impact on them. So instead, they suffer in silence. They wait, they stalk, they replay memories in their head like a broken record. They feel the weight of your absence, but they refuse to acknowledge it. At first, they tell themselves, I don't need to text them. I don't care. Then days pass, then weeks, then months, and suddenly it doesn't feel like control anymore. It feels like regret. They want to reach out, but their ego won't let them. Let's be real. If their pride wasn't in the way, they would have reached out already. The truth is, they crave a response from you. They check their phone, hoping for a sign that you're still thinking about them. But when nothing comes, that silence becomes unbearable. They start justifying it in their head. Maybe they're waiting for me to text first. Maybe they're just playing hard to get. Maybe they still miss me, but don't want to admit it. But deep down, a darker thought creeps in. What if they've truly moved on? What if they're not waiting? What if they're not even thinking about me? And that's when panic sets in, because their ego told them you would chase, Their pride told them you would break, but the longer you remain silent, the more they start realizing they bet on the wrong outcome. Pride feels powerful until it's just loneliness in disguise. Pride gives them a temporary sense of power. They think they're winning by not reaching out. But the truth is, they're just prolonging their own suffering. Because one day, that pride won't be enough to fill the emptiness you left behind. One day, they'll see you laughing with someone new. One day, they'll scroll through your profile and realize you've moved on. One day, they'll wake up and realize they waited too long. And when that day comes, their pride won't be a shield anymore. It will be a prison. As Seneca once said, "He who is brave is free." And right now, you're free. You walked away, you broke the cycle. You refused to let your emotions be controlled by someone who took you for granted. But them? They're trapped in their own ego. And nothing is more painful than knowing that you had the chance to fix something, but you let pride get in the way. Number 6, you've outgrown them, and they know it. The most painful realization for them? You are no longer the person they left. They expected you to wait, to suffer, to stay stuck in the past. They thought time would pass, but you would remain the same. Still longing, still hurting, still hoping for another chance. But instead, you became stronger. You healed, you evolved, you became someone even they don't recognize anymore. And that's breaking them more than they'll ever admit. See, when someone walks away, they often assume they're leaving you behind in the same state they found you in. They expect that if they ever return, everything will be exactly as they left it. Same love, same patience, same version of you just waiting with open arms. But here's what they never considered. Growth changes everything. The way you used to see them is different now. The way you used to crave them, that feeling is gone. The way you used to believe in their words, you've learned better. And that's what's terrifying them. Not just the silence, not just the distance, but the fact that they've lost access to the person you used to be. At first, they might have convinced themselves they didn't care. They might have even felt relieved, thinking, good, now I can move on. But then something shifted. They saw something. Maybe it was your glow up. Maybe it was the way you carry yourself now. Maybe it was the way you're no longer moved by them, the way you used to be. And suddenly, they don't feel as confident anymore, because deep down they know the version of you that would have tolerated their nonsense no longer exists. And that's the real loss here. Here's the truth most people don't want to admit. It's not the breakup that hurts the most. It's the realization that while one person grew, the other stayed the same. And right now, they know they've been standing still. They know they haven't changed. They know they haven't evolved the way you have. They see it in your energy, they see it in your confidence, they see it in the way you no longer react to them. And that realization, it's eating them alive. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." And that's exactly what you've done. You didn't beg, you didn't chase, you didn't stay stuck in the pain, you transformed. And now they know there's no coming back. At the end of the day, your silence is more than just the absence of words, it's the presence of power. You don't need to explain yourself, you don't need to justify your worth, you simply walk away and let your absence do the talking. And remember, you are the lesson they never saw coming. What are your views on this? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I will personally read all of your comments. And if you seriously want to level up in life, don't forget to show some love by hitting the like and subscribe button. Stay strong. Until next time.